My name's Anthony Thomson. I am the founder and former chairman of Metrobank, and I'm the founder and current chairman of Bank. Spent about 30 years in financial services marketing. I'm a marketer by background, but an entrepreneur, I guess, by choice. Oh, innumerable. I mean, it depends. Over 30 years, there's been an awful lot of challenges. I think what's more important is how you respond to the challenges. And I've often been asked, what is the secret of any success, modicum of success I might have had? And did I come from a wealthy family? No, I didn't. I came from a working class family in Newcastle. Was I well educated? No, I wasn't. Did I have lots of friends or contacts in business who could help me? No, not really. If there is anything that's underpinned any success that I've had, it's been a willingness to get up every day and go to work. Now, that might sound like a bit of a bland thing to say, but the reality is it's persistence which I think carries people through. I'm just intrigued by things. I like new things. I love to see how things are changing. I love to be engaged in part of that. Some people don't like change. I love it. Lots of people have good ideas, but many of them fail at the first hurdle. If one looks at, there's all sorts of categories, but James Dyson and his famous vacuum cleaner, it took him over 5,100 attempts to actually perfect the dual cyclone mechanism. Now, he could have given up after 100 goes or 500 goes or even 5,000 goes. He kept going. And I think that's a difference between people succeeding and failing. Well, of course, if you believe in your idea, you're going to carry it on longer than you really should. It is a bit difficult sometimes. It's like, killing your children. You don't want to do it. But one has to be realistic in the assessment of an idea. And I think for a lot of people, it not working, they would see as a sign of failure. I think it was Edison who said, I'd experimented 1,000+ times before I invented the light bulb. These weren't 999 failures, were just 999 ways of finding a different way to do it. So I think people who have ideas, often they need refining, they need reforming, maybe changing entirely. And it is sometimes difficult to accept that. And having external advisors, dispassionate voices, people who you can trust, who'll say to you, you know what, maybe you've given this a good enough go, is very, very helpful. Wow, what's been the high part of my career? I don't tend to look back. I tend to look forward, and it's what's going to be the next high point to my career. Making Atom successful, making it a great customer experience, making it global. These are the things I look forward to. I tend not to look back at things I've achieved. I'm a marketer by background. So when I was looking at market data back in 2007 for some kind of insight that would drive an opportunity, what the market data told me then and tell me today is what matters to customers is value. And value is an amalgam of a number of things. Price is important, but service is important, convenience, transparency, consistency, not just price. And it appeared to me that all of the high street banks seemed to think that the only thing that mattered to customers was price. So the opportunity with Metrobank was to give customers value, to give them service, convenience, transparency, all the things that mattered to them. I didn't have doubts about whether we could get it to market and whether it would be successful. Obviously, during a journey of 3 years or so, one has ups and downs. And many years ago, I heard a great speaker, an American climber called Eric Wennermeyer. Eric Wennermeyer's climbed Everest. So lots of people have climbed Everest. I think the youngest is 11, the oldest is 65. What made Eric Wennermeyer unique was the fact that he's blind. He was sighted until he was 7, but he's blind. And he said something which really resonated with me. He said, "You've all heard the expression, seeing is believing." He said, that's wrong. What it should be is believing is seeing. So if you really believe in something, you will see the outcome. And we had a lot of ups and downs over launching Metrobank. I remember 2008, excuse me, we couldn't raise any money in the UK. We were trying to raise the money in America over 3 weeks, 100 meetings. We finally got commitments to $116 million. We were looking for about $100 million. So it was real. For once, we had the money. I remember flying home on the Friday night, got home Saturday morning. I gave my wife the great news. My joke is she went out to spend the money. And then on the Monday, Lehman Brothers went bust. And of the $116 million we had committed, about 65 million disappeared that week. So, one has one's ups and downs, but you have to believe in what you're doing. If you believe in it, you'll see the outcome and you'll keep going. Well, it was a great success. I remember the night before standing outside with my co-founder on the opposite corner, looking in and saying, I wonder if anybody will come tomorrow morning. And people started queuing from 6:30 in the morning. By 8 o'clock, we had 120 people in the store. It was a fantastic feeling, but you just move on. That was then, that was done. Next thing was to make it successful. It was all about putting the customer first. A lot of the other banks then talked about putting the customer first. But there was one great example, which I'll give you. If you go into any high street bank, or you did then, bear in mind we launched in 2010, any bank, high street bank you walked into, the person who greeted you, the person behind the counter, the person behind the desk, any advisor had a proportion of their income driven by commission based upon selling you something. Now, I don't believe you can give customers great service and then reward your people for selling to them. The two things are just mutually exclusive. Every single person you would meet in Metrobank had one target and one target only, which is customer satisfaction. The offer was always to give customers the best experience of any channel they choose to use. Bear in mind, I had the idea for Metrobank in 2007. We were building it out through 2008, 2009. The iPad didn't come into being until 2010. So this was really pre the digital world. Now, clearly, Metro now has online and has mobile, but it also has a very big branch network, and the world is just moving away from branches. Well, it's a bit like the old joke about how do you get to Dublin? The answer being, well, I wouldn't start from here. In 2016, one would not start a bank with branches. It would be like BT putting telephone kiosks back on the high street. The time's just gone. There is an inexorable move towards digital in general and mobile in particular. A number of years ago, Eric Schmidt declared that Google was mobile first. Mobile is the future. It's incredibly difficult to start a bank. The reason nobody done it for over 100 years was because it is bloody difficult. It's about getting authorized by the regulator, raising capital, building out IT and infrastructure, recruiting a team, getting the whole proposition out to the marketplace. It takes a long time and it's very, very expensive. Is the timing for Atom Bank a little too early? Absolutely not. If anything, we're a little later to market than I would like to be. The rate silver surface, people over the age of 60. So I think it will have a very wide appeal. If you look at a standard Gaussian distribution curve, millennials are our core, but it has a very, very long tail. These are people who've never been into a branch, but the young ones, obviously the older ones have. The older ones tend not to go in. Branch usage is in terminal decline. Desktop internet usage is in serious decline. The only growth, telephony is in decline. The only growth area is in mobile banking. Well, my job is to ensure that the management team are supported and occasionally challenged, along with the board, to ensure that we have a good strategic vision for the business and that that's implemented. You know, the guys on a day-to-day basis, we've got a fantastic team, but occasionally they can get a little wound up in the day-to-day. Part of my role is to help them step back and look at the bigger picture. It's all down to my fundamental belief, which is profit is a byproduct of doing something well. If you set up a business, it should be to give customers a better product or a better service or a better experience. And if you manage your business well, you will make a profit. But it has to be that way around. It has to be customer first, profit second. So everything has to be about focusing on the customer. Well, any investor I talk to about any business I've ever been involved with, I've stated very clearly what the purpose of the business is, how we're going to deliver it, and what, as a result of doing that well, will be the profit. And I guess it's self-selecting. There are perhaps some investors who might not be interested in that approach. But generally speaking, all of the marketing literature tell us that good marketing is about putting the customer first. If you put the customer first, if it's good marketing, it will be a good business. If it's a good business and you manage it well, it will be profitable. The way people open accounts is changing quite dramatically. But in the first instance, our task is less about people opening an account for the first time, more about persuading them to shift from an existing legacy style bank. I think when you see the Atom app, it is so easy. You could open an account sitting exactly where you are on your mobile phone in a matter of seconds or a few minutes. It is a completely different experience. And the best kind of simile I can come up with is going back to Henry Ford's old adage about if he'd given people what they wanted, it would have been a faster horse. To take that analogy and make it somewhat torturous, it's a bit like saying all of the banks today are horses. Now, Metro was a much better horse than any of the horses that were around. Atom is a Model T Ford. Now, some people might say, how's that better than my horse? Well, the answer is maybe the first Model T isn't, but our second release or our third release or our fourth release will be far, far superior. Well, I think one needs to understand that people care about banking, not banks. You want to know how much money you've got in your account. You want to know whether that payment to your wife or girlfriend or partner was made. You want to know if the salary's gone into your account. People are using mobile devices all day, every day to do that. So getting people's engagement is not difficult. What we've got to do is just give them a much better experience than they would get elsewhere. And our app is entirely different and a magnitude better than those things that exist because it was designed in a gaming language. It is 3D, it is engaging, it is interactive. All the things, frankly, the existing bank apps aren't. Well, their issue was technical, but brought upon by a much more mundane issue, which is the fact that their ultimate owners in Iceland ran away with a large proportion of the funding. All of our experience tells us that, as I say, people understand they're covered by the Financial Services Compensation Scheme. Do they want physicality? For some people, it's essential, but it's a dwindling number. And frankly, Atom is not for them. Well, you presuppose that we want to. I mean, the most important thing to me is that we build a bank which gives a great customer experience. If we do that and we deliver it well, customers will come to us. And unlike the other banks which are based in physicality, we are borderless. BBVA have a 29.5% stake in Atom, but there's a similar size stake held by Neil Woodford and by Tosca. So we have three very, very supportive shareholders. BBVA bring a lot of other things. Their experience and commitment to digital globally is of great help to us. But they're a supportive shareholder, not an owner. The broad challenges remained the same. Clearly, having had the benefit of having been around that particular block once did help. It's a much more benign regulatory environment, but perhaps a much more forensic regulatory environment. So there are a lot of pluses and a lot of minuses, but overall, we were able to get Atom Bank authorised and built in a much shorter period than it took to do Metrobank. Our app is developed in a whole new innovative gaming language. Much of that was delivered through working with a company called Grasp. We really like the people. We really like the founder. They really get what it is that we're trying to do. They brought tremendous skills and experience and expertise. And it was great that we could acquire them and have them become part of Atom. It's part of the low-cost rationale, which is to become efficient in the future, one needs to have a low cost-income ratio. Part of that's delivered through technology. Part of that's delivered through geography. I'm originally from the Northeast. There's a tremendous wealth of talent in the Northeast of England. We've been able to bring together so far 160 people based in Durham. And Durham County Council have been tremendously supportive to us. And of course, because the bank is delivered digitally, it doesn't matter where it's based. Gosh, the problems facing retail banking, I don't think we've got long enough in 2 hours to outline them all. There's a whole bunch of things. They've got legacy real estate, branches in places people don't want to go. They've got legacy IT systems, which are just beyond bad. I was talking to a senior director in one of the big banks, which remain nameless. He said, trying to get anything done here, he said it makes the civil service seen fast. They've got legacy cultures and they've got legacy brands. All of the evidence we see, when one looks at the Edelman Trust Barometer, the trust in traditional banks is in terminal decline. Well, I'm not so sure that we are disintermediating it. The industry is being disintermediated. What is a bank? It's the ability to take deposits. It's the ability to transfer money on the payment rails. There are people who can do bits of this, but they aren't banks. And having a bank and having a bank balance sheet is what makes us different to some of the other fintech disruptors. There are people who are doing bits of disrupting, but because they don't have the balance sheet, they don't have the scale. Oh, it's enormous, absolutely enormous. I referred earlier to the Edelman Trust Barometer. It's just part of this overall decline. And it comes back to a point, again, I made a little bit earlier, which is profit should be a byproduct of doing something well for the customer. I think a number of banks believed that they were in existence just to make money. And PPI was a manifestation of that. Do you know, I'm not really interested in where retail banking goes. I'm only interested in where Atom goes. And that's really about following the customer. Technology is going to change the nature of our bank. There are those who say within a few years we won't have mobile phones. That's fine, as long as we are at the cutting edge of technology. I could make a quite compelling case to say that Atom Bank is not a bank. It's a data and predictive business that just happens to have a banking license. Banks, traditional banks existed when money was physical. Today, the vast majority of money is bits and bytes. It's data transfer. We're in the data business. What we've got to be really, really good at is analyzing that data and using predictive technology to let you know what you need from your bank before you even are aware of it. People don't think of banking every day. We should be thinking of their banking needs 60 seconds of every minute, 60 minutes of every hour, 24 hours of every day, 7 days of every week, so they don't have to. I had a very good friend who's a mentor to me for many, many years, who sadly died a year ago, who was a very successful businessman and helped me understand business over the years. And we used to meet, we met for 30 years, from when he was a middle-aged man to quite an old man. And we always started our conversations the same way, which is, what do you think we're going to do when we grow up? And I just hope I don't grow up. Are mentors important? Yes, I think they are very important. But advice can come from all sorts of sources. They don't have to be formal mentors. They can be your parents, they can be friends, they can be people around you. I learn from all sorts of people. I learn from people who are older and more experienced than me. I learn from people who are younger and less experienced than me. And nobody has a monopoly on good ideas. When I came up with the idea for what became Atom Bank, I spent a lot of time with the management team, talking to them less about what we were going to create and more about why we were going to create it. So what were the values that underpinned what we do? And I've talked about one that's very important to me, which is profit as a byproduct. And I said to the guys, for me, building Atom was a bit like building a monument. It was something that would outlast me. If we built it well, we gave it great foundations. If we really did it well, it's something that my kids, and if I'm lucky enough to have them, my grandkids, will be able to look at after I've gone and go, my dad or granddad was part of making that.